So hello everybody. I'm extremely happy to have the opportunity here to be in touch with you. Here is 3:30 in the afternoon. I understand it's 8 p.m. for you. So I appreciate the late hour, and I hope it's going to be enjoyable. Yeah. I'm going to put just a set of slides. Slides are for me more a matter of alibi, you know. So it allows me to have a structure in my mind and to continue. But what I'm going to say is going to go beyond what I'm going to show in the slides itself. So please do not hesitate to take note if you want. Anyway, it's recorded, so you can hear this presentation later on if you wish. Maybe a few words about what I'm going to do with you today. Yeah. First, I'm going to tell you a few words about myself, not because of egocentrism. It's not the objective, but more for you to understand what you can get from me, especially in the question and answer session. Yeah. Because there are topics which are clearly not useful for you to tackle with me, so you will understand that, and others which are very meaningful. So please focus on those one. I'm going to use a rationale for doing business internationally, but just as an excuse, as intellectual excuse for a structure, because I'm sure you know this topic, and actually this is the essence of a lecture that I give over 32 hours, you know. So you can imagine this is just a subset of it, but nonetheless it gives the structure of the discussion. And during intertwined into this rationale, I'm going to bring you a lot of personal experiences which I had in the past in Europe, because I've been dealing in Europe, in ex-Soviet Union, Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS, it's the whole ex-Soviet Union, Middle East, Africa, and even a little bit of China also, yeah. Then I will end up with a topic which is, one I like a lot, which is a little bit the ethics one. Also here, I give lectures over 30, 40 hours usually on that one, but okay, I'm going to be very short on that one. So a few words about myself. Actually, I started in youth when I was 17, 18. I started as a student in physics, and I did first a master in mathematical physics, so the physics or the mathematics for physicists. Yeah. When I did my master, after that, I started a PhD, which okay, I needed 4 or 5 years to do it. So I ended it up when I was 27. It was in particle physics, yeah? Studying a specific reaction, proton, pion, deuteron, here in the CERN in Geneva. Well, things were happening in parallel. Is that when I was age 22, actually I found the ideal woman for in my life. So I married at this age, 41 years later now, still married with the same lady. And 5 years later, so when I finished my PhD, we had already 4 kids, yeah. So 1 daughter and 3 boys. And I had to take a decision. And the decision was, well, I have now to feed this family, yeah, because to be, to do research, it's good. But I'm not going to feed a family of 6 people. So I decided to move to private business. And I was lucky enough to be hired by Hewlett Packard, actually, yeah. And I decided to go for sales because, you know, if I had to prostitute myself from science into business, at least let's go for the real thing, you know. And the real thing is sales, definitely. Yeah. So I moved to sales. So I started in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. Obviously, they gave me as major account the European Center for Nuclear Research. the major university, polytechnicum, and stuff like that. Yeah. 2 years and a half later, actually, they promoted me as district sales manager. So handling 12 people for the Swiss romand, so then all the markets were. So that's 2.5 years later, I was asked to move to Zurich, and from there I managed a full area for the whole of Switzerland. I was not the general manager, I was just responsible for an area, but I had something like 42, 45 people in charge of the different channels, direct sales, indirect sales, phone sales, marketing, and stuff like that. After 3 years or 4 years of this exercise, I decided to move to international. So back to Geneva, where there was the headquarters for Middle East, Europe, the whole Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And they gave me the responsibility first to develop Saudi Arabia. Then a few months later, they added me all the rest. So the Emirates, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, and stuff like that. 1 year later, they asked me to develop the business of in ex-Soviet Union, but not in Russia. So these were all the countries like Ukraine, like we have now the old story, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and so on and so forth. So I was in charge of all of that, plus always the Middle East. So you had the 2 territories. I was in charge there. So I took care essentially of what is the major topic today, which is how do we enter a new market internationally? What are the constraints? What should I do? What are the dangers? What makes a difference? Yeah. After a while, I moved to, but not very long. It was just a short 2 years for a company called AMP based in Germany, which was owned by another company called the Tyco. And I was in charge for so for Russia, the whole CIS, and the whole Eastern Europe. I did this for 2 years, and then I moved to another company, Fricom, who they added to me, besides this territory, again, the whole Middle East and the whole Africa. So I had quite a huge territory. And also I was in charge of the commercial side for the relationship with a joint venture we had in China, which was called the H3C, so Huawei actually Fricom, which was operating out from Hangzhou and there, yeah. So this is a little bit my corporate story, yeah. So now since 10 years, more or less. Okay, for the real detail and dates, I advise you to go to LinkedIn, yeah. So I'm basically either consulting in the domain of business ethics or teaching actually quite a lot about these matters, especially in the Webster University here in Geneva. And by the way, I have a wisdom advice to give you besides all these topics that you are going to talk about. That is that a few years later, I had 4 kids, one boy and 1 girl and 3 boys. Actually, I ended up with the same wife. Actually, I ended up to have 8 children as a total. So five daughters and 3 boys, so the first 3. And practically all of them are married. Only one is not yet. And I'm the grandfather of 17 grandkids. Yeah. And I can just tell you, especially when you start having white hairs a little bit everywhere, is that, well, at that point of time, you say, actually, wisdom is that, actually. All the rest are things which come and go, and it's fascinating intellectually, or whatever you want, but the only thing which is solid, the only thing which is worth a life, actually is family. So, okay, that's I close with it, and I move on. I continue to move on my presentations. Yeah. So, yes, the experiences that I'm going to share during these presentations are different. In this slide, just to show you where they come from, so it helps you also to position. So, whatever is about Western Europe is essentially my experience in Hewlett Packard and in Fricom, and some experience in private business. for all what is ex-Soviet Union, included Russia and the whole Middle East, it's essentially Hewlett-Packard and 3Com. Okay. For the Eastern Europe, Africa, and China is 3Com. Yeah? So this is my professional experience, which allow me to tell you about this this topic. Yeah. And as you see, I have absolutely no experience at all with India. I dealt a lot with Indian people, especially in the Emirates, in Oman, in these kind of places, because they were often handling distributors, wholesalers, and resellers of partner companies locally there. So, but I never dealt really with the Indian subcontinent. So I'm totally ignorant into that. So I bring you a total other point of view. Okay, so this is the whole process to managing an international go-to-market or an international entry into market. Yeah, so these are the things that we consider. Why should we actually go, and how should we go? Yeah. So in this slide, what is interesting, is the first column is just the intellectual part of it. So it is the reasons at a high level, at the top level. Why should we go international? Why should a company like Hewlett-Packard start selling outside from the USA and then starting selling in Western Europe? And then from Eastern Europe, starting asking people like me to develop Middle East and to develop ex-Soviet Union. Yeah. So what are the reasons? Because if you don't know the reasons why you do that, then you are not going to sustain a real strategy on the long term. And I had actually two experiences. One was so with Hewlett-Packard, definitely the objective was increasing the market size. Okay, so it was basically, and 3Com also. It was basically, okay, we have a product that we are selling well in our traditional markets, and without doing too many changes to them, because we are at the top of the technology and stuff like that. Okay, we want to try to sell them outside from our traditional markets. Yeah, so it's a quick return on investment, because it's just the investment here is in this domain is basically investing in some sales organization, essentially, yeah, and the administration which is around it. So it's quite light. So the return investment is quite fast. So this was the reason. I had another company I've been working for only 2 years. This was the Tyco company, AMP. Actually, I had for them to develop Eastern Europe and ex-Soviet Union. And still now, in 2022, I do not understand why they really wanted to do that. You know, so because they were balancing between different strategies, and well, at the time probably I was too young to be strong enough to advise them correctly, you know, what to do. So I was in the mode of more following the direction from the management rather than telling them like I would do afterwards in my life, to tell them we do that instead of that, period. Okay, so then once this is clarified, you have this second column, which is to understand what is the general, very global strategy. Okay, we are going to discuss this in other slides, but you have essentially 3 to 4 general strategies that you can follow up. At that, each company is different. I'm going to give you the differences among the company I've been working for. But essentially, they tended to move between international business level strategy, in the simplest case, to actually global strategy. Yeah, I'm going to explain this in detail. And then the most interesting for today's discussion, it's the entry modes. This is where I'm going to focus with you more today. Yeah. So how do we enter market? What are the legal consequences of it? Because you have people coming from the legal field, if I understand well. Yeah. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on that side. So what are the consequences of this at this level? What are the kind of services that you can offer, for example, a company who would like to enter, or a company in India who would like to enter somewhere else, or a company from somewhere else would like to enter in your country. So these are all things that we are going to go into details. And we are going to let a little bit aside okay, I'm going to talk about managerial problems and risks. So the whole 3 boxes here are at the core of my presentation today. And then, of course, the outcomes, well, this is for another time, yeah? Okay, so, first question is why? Why should we go international? I set up the question in why and what for also, and how, okay, in my slide presentation. First question is why going internationally? Why one country instead of another one? Yeah. So basically, as you know, I've been working essentially for American companies, actually Californian-based American companies, which is a very specific subset of American companies. It's very different, the Western coast from the Eastern coast. The whole approach of market, of business, the whole business culture is different. But essentially, it was very pragmatic. Yeah. So as I told you, internationally they had products which were at the top at the time. They were at the edge of what was required in technology, and well, simply they had to take positions before, I don't know, English people, French people, other people would come there. Yeah, so it was a matter of market sizing, going there, taking position. Yeah. The second one was geographic advantage. All the countries which had signed with a World Trade Center, World Trade Organization, the WTO. Okay, there were special places to hunt, because all the countries we do follow WTO rules. As legal people, you have to be aware of that. Okay. Local businesses, they have less advantages than huge companies who come from abroad, actually, because all the rules being the same, the multinational or the global company who comes is much stronger, because we have processes, we have the products, we know how to do, we have the money, and normally the local businesses, especially if the country is not very big or does not have huge companies, I don't know, like Tata Group, for example, in India, well, it's going to be difficult for them to strive against that. So it's going to generate. It's okay. So thanks to geographic advantages is that. And then there is market selection. Market selection, honestly, what I've seen in practice is always very opportunistic. Okay. It's about essentially evaluating a few ratios and the possibilities, and if it makes sense with an optimized investment, well, people go there. So in some cases, there are some more strategic thinking. Of course, when you go, for example, in Saudi Arabia, you think about, I don't know, Saudi Aramco, for example, yeah, the #1 worldwide producer of oil. And so you go there, and definitely you want to work with this kind of customer. So it's there is a strategy which is behind that. Yeah. And then you have to decide what is the mode of entry, which is going to be very much depending from the market selection. Once again, it's where we are going to focus today. Yeah. So what for? So we've seen why. So why the pressure from the international market? The what for is, and this is very important that we have a common understanding of that. It's that objective is to gain access to new customers. Now, when we say access to new customers, it means expensive. It's something expensive, because when you enter a new market, when you have to reach new customers, it means that it's going to cost you quite a lot in terms of marketing, in terms of discounts, in terms of new investments. So it's not immediate that you get a very strong return on investment, yeah, but you want it quickly. But there is a cost of entry that you have to accept to do it. In my experience, I've seen that because I've seen also medium to even big, especially European companies trying to enter into new markets, but without the will which is needed for that. So they go a little bit opportunistically, yeah. So they send a guy who visits the country and they try to find a deal or two, and they try to win this deal occasionally or not. And if they lose it, they lose their interest for this country and stuff like that. So these are not big competitors. These are not companies which are interesting at all. Work on the long term, yeah. But it's not because they are bad guys. It's because they don't have the financial means, yeah, for a more reliable strategy. Okay. Okay. Then the second step, of course, is that you can lower the cost and get economy of scale, because if you sell products everywhere around the world, which is the same product, without having to do personalized stuff, well, in general, you are going to do economy of scale. Suppliers, the cost of production per unit is going down. So this is going to help you to be more competitive even in your home country market while selling abroad. It can, in some cases, give you access to specific competences in foreign markets. In that case, I'm thinking of the joint venture that we had in China, so with Huawei at that time, yeah. So you see, these guys are good into that. We are good into that. Okay, let's work on that together. And of course, you don't put all the eggs in the same basket. So if suddenly there is, I don't know, the Western market, the Western European market, which is slowing down. Wow, if you have an emerging market, I mean, emerging market, they give you always 2 digits increase anyway, yeah. So you can compensate the loss in one market with a good penetration in emerging market or new markets. So these are the reason why these things are done. There is this is a famous slide. It's why. What is the major challenge when we are an international company and when we want to deal and dealing an entry in a new market? And it's called the global local dilemma. Okay, because the problem is always that it's always thinking in a global fashion, okay, and dealing with local realities. And you can approach this in. I have a slide for that. Yeah, you can approach this in various fashions. You can decide that well, we are a global company, and you are going to deal in each country like the global company we are. So we don't change our rules. We just speak at a certain level. And if people don't like our global products, our global services, our global whatever, tough luck for them. Yeah. So this is something which is actually getting some pull, especially with internet and stuff like that, because we see a lot of companies which are totally delocalized, even Indian companies, by the way, yeah. So that we have them present, but they are not the only one. Yeah, they are present selling goods and products in other countries, but they stay always, with their global approach in this local country. So you, as a customer, you might feel that, and it can be not so nice to experience. The other approach is to think globally, but to act locally. So which means, okay, you have a general global strategy, but then you make sure that when you deal and when you do businesses, you do it according to local sensitivities, realities, and stuff like that. Actually, this has been essentially my experience, okay, in the company I've been working for. And then there is the multi-domestic strategy, where actually you create a bunch of companies, but well, the German company or your German subsidiary is going to think as a German, and is going to act and sell German products, basically. Yeah. So, and the other company, which is a sister company, is going to do the same in France for French people and stuff like that. Yeah. So these are other approaches. Now, I would say my advice here is when to choose one approach to the other one. It depends what kind of business you are. If you are into a B2B kind of business, and you are into a B2B kind of business where actually you, global company, are dealing with other global companies, for example, I'm Hewlett Packard, or I'm IBM, or I'm Microsoft, I'm dealing, I don't know, I'm dealing with Nestlé, okay, which is another global company. So it's excellent to think global and act global, because I mean, as a major accounts, actually, you have team of peoples there. All those people, they have they think worldwide, they think globally. They have to find global solution for each other. So this is, I would say, the best approach for B2B when it's between global companies. Yeah. So multinational to multinational, that's the approach. Then you have think global and act locally. This is very good in B2B business when you want to deal with local businesses, okay, the country where you want to enter. And also, if you want to deal with local people, but anyway, you are going to use networks of distributors, resellers, whatever, yeah, as an interface, yeah. So this is good, because these people, they are going to give the local savor, you know, to your market. And finally, there is this multi-domestic strategy, where if you think local, act local. This is definitely the best possible solution if you have B2C products, essentially. So, and you need to connect with the customer locally. So you really need to look, to feel, to taste, to smell local. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult to enter into those markets. Okay, so now, what are the detailed in market entry strategies? So I'm going to spend quite a time on this slide here, especially on the first steps. So the first approach is just simply the exporting. So for example, when I don't know, Hewlett Packard asked me to start selling, selling in Saudi Arabia. Okay, Saudi Arabia is a special case. I'm going to, but okay, no, to start selling, say in Kazakhstan, or in Azerbaijan, or wherever, you know. And we were never before, because the years I'm talking were 93, 94, 95. It was just after the end of Soviet Union. It was quite a disastrous situation there. We had never done business there, so we had to open. So the easiest approach is definitely to sell, to export. Sorry, to export. So it's this stage. And how do you realize that practically is by looking for local wholesalers and resellers, people with whom you are going to sign commercial contracts. Okay, so here the dealing from a legal point of view is essential. Very simple commercial contracts as usual. So you buy from me a good, and I pay you the money in that fashion, when and how. And all the issues which are related to import taxes, to issues related to marketing, local marketing, all the ethical issues which may arise, like bribing and stuff like that. Actually, you don't have to deal with them at all, you know. So just go through that. The issue with this approach is you have no control or very little control, or a control by goodwill based by your partners locally on the marketing message that you have, on the pricing that you do, because you give to those guys standard discount that you have negotiated with them. But what is going to be the final price that they are going to offer to the local customer, you have no idea. If it is too high, you are not going to penetrate the market correctly, and then you wonder why you do not enter this market. If it is too low, your partner is not going to survive a lot, and it might even switch to another supplier. Yeah, so it's quite a difficult part of the business. So it has pluses, not many problems. You just sell the product and you get the money for that. But it has a lot of negative things. And when you are looking at the market, if it is a really important market where you don't want to be too much opportunistic about, you want to look for the next step. And the next step, it's called representative office. So this is an interesting legal setup, which is one of my favorite when you want to start looking serious in one country. So basically, well, some of you, I am sure they know what it is, technically speaking, but the image I would like to say is a little bit like an embassy, okay? So it's a legal entity which is in a country which is representing either a subsidiary of your company, I don't know, UK subsidiary, or your mother company in the USA or wherever. And they just represent. They have the right to do no business at all. So they cannot issue bills, they cannot import goods, they cannot, there cannot be any money flow at all. So salaries are paid from abroad directly to the employees. And these rep offices, oh, well, they are like embassies or consulates. It's the way you depends how you look at it. Yeah? But they have a lot of advantages. Yeah, the advantages is that you can manage the marketing. You can manage the marketing because by having a representative office directly, you know what is happening in this country. You know who are the players. You know what are the pricing. You know what are the major customers, and you make sure that the people do focus on the right priorities. That the major customers are visited directly by you. You don't need to wait a representative, a reseller to move there or to meet this major customer. So you can even start as a representative office to meet state organization, big state organization, start dealing for major deals. Of course, you are not a salesman in the sense that you are never going to make an offer as such from this entity, but your mother company or the subsidiary can do it from their country, or you can use local wholesalers, yeah, to do, or resellers to do it. And it's also interesting representative office because you are not in competition with with the companies, your partner companies. You are not in competition. You are not selling products directly. Normally, you use them as channels, so they see you positively because usually all the contracts they're going to go, usually, with some exception, of course, usually all the contracts will go through the local partners. So they are very happy because you do the job of the major account work. You negotiate all the terms and conditions, and at the end of the day, they come and they sign their local contracts. Then they order the products and the services from the patrons, and then they resell it. It has also another advantage. It's that you don't have to make your hands dirty. Okay, in the sense that you don't have to deal any dirty issue like bribing and stuff like that, because actually you don't even need to hear about that at all. Because if there is a dimension like that, this will be dealt by the local people, from local to local. And you know nothing about it, and you don't want to know nothing about it, and you apply the famous rule: don't ask, don't tell. Yeah. So that's another advantage of that. I think so. You have excellent sales coordination, and you develop your partners. So what is some disadvantage is that, of course, compared to a subsidiary, you have a lower commitment towards the country, because you can go out anytime. Yeah. And you might have problems when dealing with flow of cash, and sometimes this can lead to local behavior with your people. I give you an anecdote. So this was actually in Russia, and I was asked. It was my frequent times. I was asked to clean up a little bit the Russian rep office, actually, because they were not doing any business at all. Okay, they were doing business, but it was very static. There was no dynamic about it. Yeah. So okay, so I land in Moscow. I go to the office, and what I see in the office, it's a huge safe. Now, a rep office, as we said, is something. It's an entity where you don't deal with cash. You don't have money. You don't need a big safe. You may need a normal safe, for some private contacts, private documents that you might have, like employees' contracts or stuff like that. But normally there is no reason. So I see this huge safe. Well, I had already a lot of experience in business at that time. So immediately I was wondering, I was suspecting what it was. Yeah. So I asked to the general manager of this rep office, asking, what is this? What is this safe? Oh, he says, nothing. Boy, ask him, please open it. Oh, I forgot the key at home. I say, go home. And I wait. Oh, but I live 1.5 hours from here. Say, no problem. You go and come back in 3 hours. Meanwhile, I talk with the other employees. So the guy leaves and comes back 10 minutes later. Oh, I forgot my key in my car. Yeah. Like if someone forgets the key of the safe in his car. But okay, anyway. Okay, please open. He opens the safe. And then what I see, stacks of thousands, tens of thousands of US dollars. You remember, well, it was 50,000, 50,000 US dollars. At that time, in Russia, monthly average salary for people working for American companies was around 800 US dollars per month. Average salary in general was 300. So, and there you had 50,000. And there was no way they could have created 50,000, because they cannot sell anything. Everything which is sold, it's sold. At that time, it was sold from the subsidiary, the UK subsidiary of Freecom. So it was sold from the UK. So how they can get cash there? I had my successor. So I asked him. I said, "So what is this money?" And he tell me, "Oh, this is the money of the employees." I said, yes. I said, I know Russian people good enough. We never would let their own private money in a safe in the office. Give me a book which shows the name of the employee, the amount of money that he or she has left there. Of course, this book was not existing. So then I tell him, okay, so how did this money come here? Well, he didn't want to explain me, so I told him, I remember his first name was Anton. I told him, listen, Anton, I'm going to explain you how you did it, okay? And then because you cannot explain to me what you have done, but I'm myself explaining to you what you are doing, this means that I don't need you. Yeah. So after I finish my explanation, okay, you take the keys of your car and you can go back home and never come back here. Yeah. So so I told him what it happened, because I had seen similar scenario previously. I said, okay, what you are doing, because you are here managing the marketing. So you find an agreement with companies, marketing companies, which are far away from Moscow. I don't know, Yekaterinburg, Vladivostok, wherever you, Kirkutsk, wherever you want, okay, far away. And you ask them to bill the UK entity for marketing activity they have done there, like conferences, advertisement, and stuff like that, but which never happened. For $1,000, $2,000. When the UK subsidiary pays the money to them, they take a fee of 5% and they give you the cash back. And you use this cash in order to bribe your wholesalers and resellers in order to get the orders at the end of the month. Okay. Am I right? He shut up, he took his keys and he left. Anyway, he had no other choice. So, but that's essentially the point. The problem is, okay, here I'm talking about more about the ethical issue, is that the bribing is always very bad. It's always very, very bad for ethical reason that I'm going to explain. It's very bad for the management of business, because this does not push the people to really work to gain for new markets, new businesses, new customers, to fight for that. Because they are going to earn more, actually, using a bribe rather than working hard. Why? It's very simple, because your corrupting sales guy, when he's going to meet the corrupted buyer, he asks the corrupted buyer, so can you give me an order for 100,000 US dollars? And the guy in front of him says, yes, but you give me 1,000. And the guy says, okay, I give you 1,000. Then the sales guy goes back to his sales manager, back to the office, and say, hey boss, it's possible that I get 100,000 order, but the guy wants 2,000. So the guy pays his salesman 2,000. The salesman gives 1,000 to the corrupted buyer, and he takes the other 1,000 for his pocket. Yeah. And when you have an average salary of $800, this is more than enough to live like a king, without having to do anything. And this was the essential reason why this entity was not developing. Yeah. So this is the bad side of this kind of negative side of this kind of things. Of course, I clean up the old things. In 3 months, I changed the whole team, and actually, from 6 months on, I got growth, systematic growth of 15 to 20% per year over 3-4 years. Yeah, so it was normal. When people have to deal, they cannot bribe. They actually become much better in the market. Okay, so but this can be sometimes an issue, because the problem that I didn't tell you yet is that I was with 50,000 US dollars, and I don't know what to do with it, because from a legal point of view and from an accounting point of view, I had no mechanism to absorb this money back to the company. This entity cannot sell anything, so I cannot say I sold a book whom I sold for 50,000 US dollars. No, I cannot even say that. It's not possible. I cannot put this in my luggage to cross the border, because you can imagine the face of if I would have had a control, with these guys who is transferring 50,000 US dollars cash, you can imagine. So I was with this 50,000 US dollars, which were from nowhere and which could not go anywhere. So I had to deal with that. And the solution I found at that time was simply that we became extremely good in marketing for the following year because I used this cash to finance a lot of marketing activities, paid black, of course, with this 50,000 US dollars for marketing activity, hoping that no one, from the local fisc and taxation organization would discover that game. Yeah. So, voilà. So, advantages, disadvantages of representative office. Okay. But all in all, it's a very good solution. If it's managed correctly, very, very good. Then the next step, it's either licensing or sole distributorship. Sole distributorship is something that I've seen in many emerging markets because when the countries are not very well educated and you try to enter into a new market, local wholesalers and distributors, they want always to have you. Giving them exclusivity. And they think that by giving you exclusivity, wow, they would be so rich and so well, whatever, yeah. And they don't like at all the idea that you are not going to give them exclusivity. So you are going to be asked very often by people to negotiate a sole distributorship or exclusivity contract. But this is a bad thing. I spent practically all my years in the Middle East for Hewlett-Packard, basically getting rid of these sole distributorship contracts. For example, in Saudi Arabia, the company HP had signed with because in Saudi Arabia the system was very simple. Each member of the royal family, the different princes, they have markets. Okay, they have major companies which deal in this market, and they basically sell whatever is needed for that specific market. So, for example, the group Al Arabiya is going to sell essentially given market segments or to specific customer. The group with whom Hewlett-Packard had signed, so Al Arabiya had signed, for example, with IBM, and we at Hewlett-Packard got signed with the Al Faisaliya group. And we were working with one of their major companies in IT, which was called Modern Electronic Establishment. This one, basically, they had exclusivity, yeah? But after a while, because actually when they start sending me to take care of this market, the problem was that they were not so happy about the results. So it was good money, but it was not growing. Why it was not growing? Because, of course, Modern Electronic Establishment was essentially selling within the Al Faisaliya environment. Okay, and I started a fight, which fight. It's a matter of saying, because it's much more diplomatic than that. But sometimes it was a fight, yeah, also. But I had even to have Hewlett himself coming down to negotiate with the prince in a point of time, because I wanted to break down this exclusivity contract, because this exclusivity contract is a little bit like the bribing story. Actually, it's just a fashion to sleep for the salespeople. Well, I cannot sell because, well, there is no other market than the one they have. Yeah. But actually, when you do not have exclusivity, it should be univocal. Huh? So you say to your exclusive distributor or representative locally, you tell them, okay, I don't want to deal only through your channel, but I want also to be able to deal through other channels, which are your competitors. But as a counterpart, you have also the right to deal with my competitors. So if I can sell to Al Arabiya, and you agree on that one, Al Arabiya accepts that, well, we do agree that you also sell IBM products, and so on and so forth. Yeah? So this was very, very difficult to, and it has always been difficult, not only in Saudi Arabia. Every time I had to break down this mentality, it was a huge war. Yeah? sometimes even they hate you because of this proposal. But then, okay, eventually we made it. And suddenly the business starts taking off. It starts taking off, yes, because there are also other channels which are offering your product. But I can tell you, 95% of the growth was coming from your partner, which used to be your exclusive partner, but who now was sensing the competition and put its salesmen at work, kicking their butts back to reality. Okay, and they didn't want. They wanted to have a better contract with us in order to have a better discounts. They wanted to have the rotation of the stocks, of the inventories, increasing, fastening, because the more you rotate it, wow, the more you make profit. So you cannot stay with just an inventory there, sleeping, waiting for orders. You have to push this inventory out. Otherwise, you are going to lose market shares that your competitor was trying to have. So licensing and sole distributorship is good up to a certain level if you do not think that you are going to really make much more in a specific country. For example, you have analyzed that the size of this country is such that you will never, ever, anyway, have a subsidiary there. Okay, so you say, okay, we do as we can, and tough luck if we did in Saudi Arabia. I created something. I could not open actually even a representative office, because of this sole distributorship at start. So the trick that I had to use was to tell them, okay, please, because I wanted to have a rep office, especially for Saudi Aramco. Please, I would like to have a de facto representative office of Hewlett-Packard in Dhahran, in front of Saudi Aramco, with my Hewlett-Packard people there in order to enter into this account. But of course, all the orders that would come will go through you, no problem. So we did a legal setup, which was basically that we send Hewlett-Packard employees, top guys, yeah, specialized in oil and gas industry and stuff like that. They would be formally the employees of Alpha Isalia, or Modern Electronic Establishment, formally seen from the kingdom point of view. We would pay the kingdom all the amount of money, so that it was zero sum expense for them. And of course, we guaranteed this. We consider internally in Hewlett-Packard these employees are our employees anytime, ready to take them back to their home countries in the USA or in Europe. Okay, so this was the way we did it. Okay, so plus and cons of source distributorship. Okay, you understand, yeah? What they are. Franchising, it's another topic. Franchising has its pros and cons. You have a success story like McDonald's, yeah, that I don't know how present they are in India, but okay, you have this franchising approach, which makes a lot of sense if you do not want to have your. I'm not going to discuss the franchising in very detail right now. I like personally. I like a lot approaches like Zara, the Spanish group in fashion, because actually they don't go full franchise at all, because they like to continue to control their marketing and the distribution, and the connection between the whole value chain and their customer is very tight. Hence, they are so successful. Well, I would say that maybe this is what makes the difference between a successful franchising or not, is if your company desires to manage the whole value chain vertically, so from production, suppliers, production down to sales and so on and so on, I would say that it's better not to go for franchise. If you are looking essentially into managing just the image, managing, essentially managing marketing without taking care too much about the added value chain as such. Okay, you can go for franchise in a specific market. In other words, if you are ready to have a McDonald's in Azerbaijan, and you don't care too much about the kind of bread they are going to use, actually, you prefer they use local bread because Azeri people, they're going to prefer to eat the local bread, having local taste, rather than standard McDonald's bread. Okay, why not? Okay, or you need to give them halal because they are Muslim, halal meat. Well, this is not the problem number one of McDonald's as such. They do it locally. Yeah, so franchising is a good approach. Yeah. Okay, the next step is that you can look for strategic alliances. And of this, okay, there are pros and cons as always. Strategic alliances, I would say, is a typical. It's a typical co-competition. It makes a lot of sense if you're in a co-competition environment, whereby co-competition, I'm knocking two things, which is cooperation and competition at the same time. So you do agree that in some domain you cooperate. So they sell your product, you sell their products and services, and in other domain you compete. Okay. I got a major experience for that in China, actually, with this joint venture I was telling you before. It's a joint venture between Freecom and Huawei. What happened is that Freecom, in the end of the 90s, in the 90s, they were actually a company selling networking product, routers, stuff like that. And they were selling for Mr. Everybody, you and me, but essentially they were selling to top big companies. So they're very high end, state companies, broadcast companies, these kind of companies. But at the end of the 90s, they decided to change the strategy, and they sold the whole high end of their products to Juniper. Okay. And because they were thinking, no, the future is about the B2C and all what is related to that. And this was a major strategic mistake. Because very quickly, already in the year 2000, 2001, 2002, they noticed that they were losing huge market shares. They were losing huge market share because one of the interests of dealing with high-end customers is that they push you to the top from a technical point of view, from a commercial point of view, especially on a technical point of view. So it's a little bit like having, the Formula One cars. Why do I need to have Formula One cars? I mean, it's just expense of money. It's okay, it's good for the marketing. Everybody sees it, but no one is going to buy a Formula One car. But actually, it's where do you develop the new technologies, which 3, 4, 5 years later you're going to find in every car. So if you are missing this incentive, then you are not going to be at the edge of the technology. You're going to find yourself beyond. So for the car industry, is maybe not so. Maybe I say maybe, but because I'm not convinced. But maybe not so urgent. But definitely, when you are in IT, when you are in a networking industry, in computer industry, you cannot play this game. So they lost the top. They lost access to very top technology, and even for the low-end market they were aiming at, they started losing market shares. So they decided, so they think about it, and they said, okay, we have to go back to the high end, but we sold the high end to Juniper. So now, how can we create something from scratch? And they said, okay, let's go meet Huawei. So this is how they went to the Chinese people, okay? And they negotiated with Huawei. They created this joint venture, which was called H3C. And the deal was essentially the following. Huawei would develop, because they had already developed, actually, they were on the way, the high-end products they needed for the Chinese market. In H3C, together with Freecom, they would adapt this for the international global market. And the deal was that local but the products to be sold in China would be sold by H3C in China, by Huawei, who would be then the sales channel, while 3Com would be the sales channel for the rest of the world. Yeah? So this was the essence of the deal. So these are typical joint ventures. So we compete in some places, but we do fight in other one. Yeah. Now the problem when you are going to joint venture is that it's a cultural issue essentially. It's not because we are in the same domain, in the same. Well, we have to go married. When you are in a joint venture, it's a joint venture, so it's like a marriage. Somehow, even if it is not for your life in that case, but still, for a few years, you have to have a good relationship. And here, what we were trying to do, and what was done actually for years, was that actually we were trying to have these two sets of. Here, you see this slide. It's an international cross-cultural comparison between, in blue, American thinking businessmen, okay, and in red, so this is from 2006, no? Yes, 2006, so in the year I was dealing with those kind of things. And in red, you have the Chinese mentality, okay? And you see that actually it's not always, it's not really always online, okay? And this can be the source of a lot of problems, because you can agree at a global level for an easy agreement like the one I explained you, but then there is the reality, and the reality is that the Chinese people were producing too many of the high-end at that time. I think nowadays it would be different, but at that time they were having too many of these high-end products for the Chinese market. Yeah, and so they started using Huawei subsidiaries outside from China to starting selling them, which was against our agreement. Yeah? And here we start with the stories, and we start with the discussion. We find agreement that no one follows, or you more exactly, you start to follow, and then you notice that the counterpart does not follow, and you are and then you have to correct it, and then you go back, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So it's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah. A joint venture is difficult. Okay, it's difficult essentially because of the cultural dimensions. Huh? Always we are talking about entering into other countries. Yeah, if you do a joint venture in a French company with another French company, it's not a problem. But already a joint venture between a French company and a German one, the probability it works, it's so and so. Yeah. Okay, and then finally, the last entry is the fully owned subsidiary, where actually you decide, well, to be able to maybe even to produce locally, to sell locally, to make profit locally. This is very much going to depend from the business structure, of your company. Are you what are your business units? Are your business units along product lines? Are your business units, so the profit centers are product lines? Are your profit centers geographical? Whatever. So all these things enter into the politics and then into the way people are going to deal and decide if they want to own subsidiaries. I myself, I opened a few represented the office, some like in the UAE, in the Emirates, or in Kazakhstan. Even they got till 120 employees, so it was not just just a small rep office with 3 guys inside. No, it was becoming, because there were all the function there to help and support the business. But myself, I had not the experience to open a fully fledged subsidiary. In terms of strategic alliance, I was asked once by MP Taiko to look for companies in the Eastern Europe or in Russia to see if it would have been possible to buy a local company for the production of connectors, because connectors in ex-Soviet Union were not exactly the same kind of connectors that we have in the Western Europe. And so the idea was to buy a company who does produce connectors for the local markets, buy them, put some money into that, and then having them selling their product with some additional quality embedded the new brand. And again, but it didn't never work, because in those years still the industrial infrastructure was not good enough, not capable to reach the standard that we were expecting from them. Okay, I'm jumping on few areas because I see that the time is running, and I jump on my last one. And it's about ethical dilemmas. First, I would like maybe something that that is seldomly taught in business schools, but actually it's something that people is very well aware since at least 30 years, since the famous movies of Wall Street, you know, where Michael Douglas was explaining us that greed is good, you know. But at the same time, exactly in those same years, people started thinking that actually business is a little bit more complicated. And nowadays, the general approach is to say that business is all about ethics. And I'm going just to say you simply why is that when you do business, actually you are dealing with people, organization, and you are giving them something and you're receiving from them something. This means that all the parts involved, which means the customer, which means the supplier from where you buy yourself, which means your shareholders, which means your bosses, your management, which means your employees, which means the state you're working in, because you have to pay taxes and so on and so forth. They all get what is due to them. Okay, and when you start thinking about duties, rights and duties of people, you speak about ethics. Okay, so an ethical business can exist. It exists, unfortunately, but it's never going to be a very long-term business. Okay, ethical business normally is a business which is able to go through the time, which very well fits with the ethics of the country it's developing, of course. I personally, this is just a comment of me because I have no time to illustrate it here, but I personally find that family businesses are usually the one who tend, it's not a guarantee at all, but are the one who tend to be the more ethical, because they have a reputation to maintain. They have capital, image capital to transfer to their son, grandson, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So they tend to be very, without even thinking about the word ethics, but they tend to be naturally more ethical. Okay, so the problem that we have in ethics are this one, especially when you are doing business internationally, actually. The first one is a problem, especially when you're working for an American company, is that you are living in a schizophrenia mood. Okay, when you're working in an American company, the whole official discourse, you can switch on, you know, your usual channel, TV channel, American TV channel, whatever. And but anyway, any companies, they're always telling you about rules, about what is the ontology, what has to be done, that this is according to the law, and this is a top-down things. It's extremely the ontological approach of things. Yeah, you have since 2003, you have a set of legislation which is called the Sarbanes-Oxley legislation which actually you are obliged when you are head of a country or of set of countries, even more. Every quarter, you have to sign a guarantee on yourself personally that everything what is happening in your territory, where you have hundreds, if not thousands of people working, but anyway, that you guarantee that everything is clean, that there are no bribes, that everything is absolutely according to the Sarbanes-Oxley legislation. Yeah. But on the other side, they want you to make money, yeah, to grow, to make two-digit growth per year, entering new market. In which market? American markets? No, markets which have different culture, different ethics, different approaches. An anecdote for you. I remember first time I go to South Africa for 3Com. So I go there and yeah, so I had been there before with Hewlett Packard, but it was during apartheid. So this was the first time after apartheid. And so the the sales, not the sales, the general manager there, because I was his boss, tell me, "Oh, Gaetan, come with me. We have to speak about something. I cannot speak publicly." And so, okay, let's see what it is. I already knew because I heard this story. Every time I went to introduce myself into a new country or to a new, because I was joining 3Com, for example, people didn't know me, so or that I get responsibility for a new country from my company. Always the same story. Okay, the guy calls me and says, "Yeah, Gaetan, so in this whispering, switching off phones, switching off his screen, and so on, like you would be in a terrorist approach of things." And he says, "Okay, the problem here in this country is bribing. It's very special, it's very difficult." And I'm always laughing because everybody is telling me the same story. Yeah. And of course, I cannot tell him, but everybody is telling me the same story, because it would be like saying, okay, it's normal to do that, while it's immoral to do that. Yeah. So I listen to that and I say, "Oh, my poor guy, yes, oh, this is difficult. Yes, okay, you have to handle that because this you cannot do." So we are going to see together how we are going to handle that, so that you avoid all this situation and these circumstances while continuing to do a business which is growing. Yeah? It was a bit frustrating for them, but okay, of course, after that I helped them, was concretely along this way. Yeah. So, but this is a schizophrenia. Company wants. You cannot go back to your boss and saying, "Hey, boss, I did a 0% growth this quarter. Why? Because I could not bribe Sberbank in Moscow." This is something you cannot say. Yeah, it's against the ontology. No, but you are responsible to make $15 million there in Moscow. Why you didn't do it this month? And well, okay, I will do it next month. Yeah. So that's the way. So it's a big schizophrenia, a lot of hypocritical situation you have to deal with. Yeah? And that you have to deal contractually with good contracts that you have to establish between yourself and partner. By the way, I open a parenthesis because I have a lot of legal people here. Don't if I take it with a smile, what I'm going to tell you. Every time I want to do a business with someone because I like the guy, because at the end of the day, it's always a matter of you like the guy or not. Yeah. So you shake the hand and you say, "Okay, we do it." Yeah. And after that, you call the lawyers in order to write down the contract. So the lawyer of your company meet the lawyer of your customer company. They deal, and you follow them, and you make sure that this contract is well done and perfectly respects what it has to be done. But when I didn't like a guy because I felt this guy was corrupted, that it was linked to mafia, that something was odd. But I could not say it to a guy because it's legally impossible, at least in Europe and worldwide, at least for Hewlett Packard rules, to say to someone you don't want to deal with this person or with this organization, because it can be seen as as discretionary, and actually after they can go for with lawsuits against you because you didn't want to deal with them. So the way I always used to do is to say, okay, I'm going to send you my lawyers. And I always was telling to my lawyers, please make sure that we never end up with a contact with those guys. Okay, so find whatever good reason that it does not work, but I don't want to deal with those guys. I close this anecdote within the anecdote. The other issue is company's culture without local culture. That's a major one. You can imagine you are a Californian guy or a Swiss guy working for a Californian company for a dozen of years like I was, and so you think like those guys, and then you have to go to work with a local culture which is orthogonal to yours. Yeah, I mean, in terms of religion, in terms of business behavior, in terms of the way you deal value things, and you manage time, you manage goods and whatever. Yeah. And you do not have the right. I know that a lot of American companies do take this right, but I think it's abusive. And I never wanted to do it, and I was never asked, to be honest, to do it. They want to change the local culture, okay? And I think this is not right. I think foreign companies, for example, if an Indian company comes to work in Switzerland, I don't wish as a Swiss guy that the Indian company tries to sell me the Indian values, but I want this company to adapt to my local Swiss values, and vice versa. Either as a Swiss or American, I go to work in India, I don't want me to start selling my American values to you guys. That's your problem, not mine. But I have to understand and work with your values, yeah, to be a moral agent in the sense that I make your values successful, not that I fight against your. The best way to do it usually is to hire local people, yeah, as soon as you can. Yeah? So I always minimize, for example, the time of hiring for hiring. For example, in countries like Kazakhstan, I started because at the beginning, it was like a colony of Russia, essentially. Yeah. So the highly skilled people were Russian. So I started my first rep office with a Russian guy, but very quickly, as soon as I could build up a Kazakh guy, I put a Kazakh guy at the head of this organization. Because I think local people know how to talk to local people. And it's up to them working in my company to translate the things between one culture to another culture, yeah, so that can be heard. Yeah. So, and they have also this job, and this is the job of aligning the global strategy to local values. It's key to success. Okay. Unfortunately, when you are working for public, this needs time. This is process. For example, in South Africa, I told you I came after apartheid, and in a point of time, they had a specific process in order to promote black people. Okay, so they wanted basically all the companies dealing with them, with the state companies, sorry, with the state organization, having black people as head. So it was positive discrimination. The very problem is that because of apartheid, before, there were no black people capable to handle, because they had not the education yet. They were at the level of good salespeople or small managers, but not at the level yet of being general managers. Yeah, so you had to fast track them if you wanted to deal with. So I remember. So I had the exact, but this takes time because then you identify the good guy. You fast track this guy, but this means that also you have to spend a hell of a time in South Africa to coach this guy, because he is not right yet for this kind of job. So that's part of. And on the other side, you have the shareholders of the company who wants to see your double-digit growth. Yeah, so that's the. And then this issue of bribing, which is always heard, and I'm going to tell you why bribing is always ethical, condemnable, and it's simply because this is stealing. It's like stealing. And I explain you this in 2 words. You never go. Imagine that your customer company. Okay, you're a customer company, and you're gonna meet the owner of the company. He's the guy who is managing this company, okay, and he's the owner at the same time. It never will occur in your mind to tell to the owner of the company, I'm going to bribe you. If you buy from my product, I give you $10,000. Why? Because it doesn't make no sense. It does not make any sense. It doesn't need your $10,000. What he's going to tell you, no, give me $10,000 of discount on the top of the discount that you gave me till now. And this is going to be okay. So normally, whom do you bribe? Do you bribe people who are not the owner? Do you bribe employees? You do bribe politicians. You do bribe people, yeah, because politicians, they are not the owners. They are representing people. Even they are the minister of a huge organization. The money which is there is not their money. Yeah, so you can bribe them. You cannot bribe the owner. And how do you bribe? Do you think that the company who is bribing is really wasting its profit for that? No. Just this is included in the cost, in the price of the product. So basically, if you know that you have to bribe someone $10,000, you make sure that in a fashion or in another, the bill that the company is going to get has $10,000 more. Okay, which after is going to be paid to this guy. So essentially, this guy has stolen his own company, though he believes or she believes that he's a very clever guy who screwed up a little bit more the selling company. Yeah. Okay. I think I spoke a lot. I spoke much too much. I'm going to go out from the screen, and I give you the word back, Pallavi.
Thank you so much, Professor. That was really nice. There is one question from a student. She's asking, when advising a client how to enter international markets, what is the best option from the entry strategies and why?
Sorry, because I don't know, there's a problem of sound, which is extremely loud on my side.
Can you hear me now? Is this better?
Yeah, maybe it's better, yeah, because it was really,
okay.
Yeah.
So she's asking, when advising a client how to enter an international market, what is the best option from the different entry strategies that you mentioned, and why is that the best strategy?
Sorry, once again, I didn't understand the first word. What kind of business you're talking about?
She hasn't mentioned any business. She's just saying when advising an international client.
Because well, during my presentation, I made it clear that it depends if your business is B2B,
okay,
and global to global, B2B with local businesses, or B2C. So that's the question number one. For example, if you are B2C and you own the whole value chain, well, you may want an approach style of Zara, so you may want to open subsidiaries. If you don't own it, you may want to go for a franchise kind of approach, for example. Yeah. If you are selling your products directly in a country, you may wish to go. If you don't want to invest money at the beginning, the minimum, because anyway, there is always money spending anyway. Yeah, but you can go for export. Yeah, simply. So you try to contact to find out local companies who can resell your products. You can start this online. You can find them. You can Zoom with them. The best is always to visit them.
Thank you so much.
During this heroic days, just another anecdote. It's an anecdote, but I always like to understand how strong is the management. Yeah. So if it just is a bullshit management of the company, yeah, I'm visiting, yeah, or if it is a strong management. Now, my opinion about management is management is strong when the will of the leader goes to the very end of the company. Okay, even to the toilets. You say, but nothing to do. Yes. Well, I like to go. I always like, because now I'm not doing that anymore, but I always like to go, always, even if I don't need at all, to go to visit the toilets. If these toilets were dirty, not very clean, not important that this is a subcontractor to other companies, so that's not my problem. The fact is that the top manager of this company is not controlling, and his will does not go up to this level. So just this is, this is an anecdote to smile, yeah, but to answer to the student is just listening to say, okay, once you have identified the partner, it can be very much worth to go there. First, not to have only one, but to have 2 or 3 at least, and to visit them, look them eye on eye. Okay, and then I have another anecdote. This was happening. In Azerbaijan. I had to find out the best possible partner for Hewlett Packard there. Yeah, so I did this job. So my idea was at that time not at all to have a rep office, but just to have a very good local representative. So I go there. Of course, I did first my homework. I had 2, 3 companies I wanted to visit. I visited. I met these different managers. Then what I wanted was a company which was very good to deal with the local government, because at that time what was important were deals with the World Bank. Okay, and deals with the World Bank means a lot of connection between the World Bank and the government. And this means dealing with a local entity which is good dealing with the local World Bank and with the government. So I was visiting those guys, and one of these guys tell me, "Hey, Gaetan, I invite you tonight for dinner." I said, "Oh, okay, great. Let's go for dinner. I like to taste new food, and Azeri food, I'm sure, is very good." And definitely invited me in a fantastic place called the Caravanserai. I think it still exists. And wow, a room just for us. Fantastic food for 2 hours. I was young, I could eat more than now. And we had a lot of fun, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Then at the end of this food, he told me, "Yeah, you are a man of taste." I said, "Okay, yeah, thank you. This I recognize, but it's good that you see that by yourself." And he opened another door, and there he told me, "Oh, look at that. I have prepared for you." There were 12 prostitutes, between age, I don't know, 14 till 24. Yeah? You're a man of taste. Choose which one you want. I told him, "Hey, guy, hey, man. I mean, because I didn't want to offend anyone. Yeah? He said, "Hey, man. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate the gesture, recognition of my taste. But look at that. And I'm Roman Catholic, so these kind of things I cannot do. But I really appreciate. Yeah, please bring me back home." Then he was a little bit because he felt that I was a little bit upset, but I didn't show any upset. But he was scared about that. He wanted to have the contact with HP, and okay, bring me back to the hotel. Then I flew back home. Then 1 month later, I came back to revisit the people to take my final decision. And the same guy tell me, "By the way, I'm also the owner of a bank. And if you open a bank account in my bank, I give you 12,000% of interest rate per year," which is bribing me, actually. It's the other way around. Yeah, of course, because I was someone who was able to give huge discounts to pay things and stuff like that. But okay, so I told him, "Oh, by the way, this it's a very nice proposal, but I know nothing about money. The one who manages my personal money is my wife, once again, So I will ask her, and then I will let you know." And then he was scared. But actually, at the end, I decided to sign my contract with him. Okay, because I was thinking, okay, so this guy is not strong enough to buy me, to present me anything. He's not dangerous for me. I will make sure that everything is tight, controlled from Hewlett Packard side. Yeah, but I'm sure that he's going to be able to do the business he needs to make with whom he needs to make. And I don't want to know. I will not ask, and I will tell him never to tell me. Okay, so that the clean is totally airtight. So these are kind of tough ethical decisions that you have to take, where you have to deal between the famous schizophreny within the whole, and knowing that there is a lot of odd things which happen on the other side. Yeah? So I don't know if I really answered your student, but really, actually, my message from me to you, to the student, is it's not magical. You have really to look at my slides, but then you have to do a huge homework. It's a huge homework. Yeah.
Can I request you to email your slides to me, Professor, so that we can share it with the students as
I
well?
send you the PDF of it. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah,
so
because there
much.
is much more than what I
Right.
quickly have shown you. Yes. Yeah. I'll do it.
Right. Thank you so much for your time. I think we let you go, and we really appreciate you taking your time and sharing your anecdotes and experiences with the students. And thank you so much for coming here. And
okay. See you soon again. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, Professor. Bye. What did you guys think of the class? I know we didn't have too much time for asking questions because he had this extensive presentation. So, but with great difficulty, we did organize the class because he was not well. It was supposed to be on Jan 21st. And then he had, I think, COVID, or he didn't say specifically, but he said he was not well for 2 weeks and, postponed the class. And then he wanted some time to prepare. So finally, we did have a Webster faculty class. I think, I hope you guys benefited from it. What did you think? You can unmute and talk. So right now it's informal. Yeah. Sabahat.
Yeah, Pallavi, it was nice. It was a good class.
Good. Yeah. Anyone else? Guys, you can absolutely be free. You don't have to be hesitant. Okay, this is basically the last class of Webster, and I also wanted to say tomorrow with the new IBL, I'm having a mediation class, and after that, next Friday, I'm going to be having a mediation simulation, in which we actually break out students into different breakout rooms and make them mediate. One of us from Law Seco will be the mediator. So if you're interested in something like that, please let me know. You can unmute and tell me. But the thing is that you have to definitely be there for the class. Because for the other students, I'm making sure they're attending by giving them marks for the class, because you guys have finished all your assignments, so you won't be getting any marks for it. But if you're just wanting to, experience a simulation and do something practical and interactive in the class, then let me know. I'll share the form with you. You can fill in your details, but you have to be there for the class on tomorrow and on Friday. If you don't come, then it just messes up our group teams and dynamics and the simulation. So if you're definitely going to be there, and if you back out, then there's nothing I can do. But for the other students, I can penalize them by giving them a 0 in the assignment. But with you guys, I can't do anything because assignments are over. So if you're definitely sure you want to come for the mediation simulation, let me know. I'll put the form in the group, and you can put your name, phone number in, and then I'll share the exercise with you and the teams also with you later. Yeah.
Pallavi, what's the purpose of mediation simulation? I'm not aware. I'm sorry.
So there's no purpose. It's just to give you an idea of how an actual mediation takes place. It's very similar to a moot court competition, but here you'll just be mediating. You will be given a team member. You will be talking with them before the class, coming up with a strategy, preparing some opening statements and everything, and then you will negotiate with the other side in front of a mediator who will be from Law Seco. It will be either me or someone from Law Seco who will be the mediator.
And the subject would be?
The subject is it's like a business settlement, so it's based on the Scarlett Johansson and Marvel settlement. So we made a fictitious Hollywood actress. She is suing Marvel and Disney. So we made different names. Instead of Disney, we put Disney, something like that. So one side will be representing Disney and Marvel. One side will be representing the Hollywood actress. And so you'll negotiate on their behalf and try and come to a settlement, and the mediator will facilitate. So that's like the hypothetical. Will the problem and structuring be shared beforehand? Yes, that is why I'm saying come for the class tomorrow. Everything will be shared tomorrow. And then there will be a simulation on Friday, next Friday. Okay, but the thing is that if you say you will come and you don't come, it messes our team, right? Suppose I've paired up Sabahat and Sukanya to be one team. They will be mediating on behalf of the actress. Suppose Sabahat doesn't come for the simulation, then Sukanya is at a disadvantage because she is just one person who's mediating between two other people on the other side. Okay, or suppose I make Mithali the mediator. If Mithali doesn't come for the simulation, that entire group of people who are supposed to mediate, 4 people, will not have a mediator. So you're understanding, right? Your attendance is extremely, extremely important. If you're saying you're going to come, you have to come for class. The other students, I'm penalizing them by giving them 0 on their assignment. But with you guys, I can't do that. So the only hitch is if you're saying you're coming and you come late, or you don't come, or you don't attend tomorrow's class, but you come for the simulation, we can't let those things happen. Could you also have a session like this for mediation? We can't do arbitration, Sukanya, because arbitration requires a lot of laws and specialization, right? Mediation and negotiation doesn't have to be so specialized. This thing. Okay, I think arbitration and normal court trial, it's better to do a moot court on that. But mediation and negotiation simulations, client counseling simulations doesn't require you to talk about laws so much. Okay, it's just basically talking on the facts and trying to negotiate and come to an agreement, etc. Is that clear? So if you're really, really keen, just raise your hand right now if you're keen. If I have like 50% people who will be keen, I'll circulate the form. But again, it has to be that you come for class tomorrow and you come for the class on Friday. For any reason whatsoever, if you put your name in the form, we put you in a team and you don't come for the team misses out. So if you're very keen and you're interested in doing something like this, make sure 100% you will come for the class tomorrow and you will come for the class on Friday. Tanmay, you're interested? Tanmay, Sukanya, anyone else? Okay, so I'll circulate the form anyway, but I really, really do want you guys to come for both the classes. Yashika is saying add me too. I won't be able to add you, Yashika. You have to put your phone number and email. So sorry, Yasabat, I can see that you're saying Friday is difficult for you. So you won't be part of it. But I'll circulate the form in the group. So you can put your name and phone number and email. I will pair you up with someone in the team. But again, be very careful and mindful, because if you back out, the other person is going to suffer and the entire breakout room is going to suffer because of you. Okay. So because there is no way I can say that, oh, Sukanya didn't come, she'll get 0 in the assignment. For the other courses, I'm doing that. I'm saying you don't come, you'll get 0. So there is some kind of punishment also for them not to come. There is nothing like that with you. So make sure you're very sure you will come and attend it and do it properly. It's a very enjoyable exercise. I've done a negotiation with the students before and they really liked it. Okay, so I wanted you guys also to be part of it because it's fun. You get to interact with people from different courses and different places in India and maybe abroad. So I'm going to put the form anyway. 2 people are interested, but again, once again saying, make sure you do come for both the classes. Okay. I want to, but I'm working nights, so it'll be difficult. Got it, Angana? Yeah, but that's the thing, right? So if you're sure you'll come. If you are unsure, then just come for the class, watch the recording or whatever, that's fine. But the simulation is going to be very interesting. So if you're interested, I'll put the form in the group. Okay. Great. So thank you so much, guys, for being part of this. And I wish you all the best for your future. This was the last class, hopefully, because all the countries have been covered. Webster faculty has also been covered. Everything's been covered for you guys. So please do keep in touch. And if there's any way that we can help you, Rosico can help you, or I can help you, do let us know. Okay. Great. Seema, you're saying
yeah. One last question. So if there are a few more assignments has to be completed, and if the course certification will not be completed, right? So when is the last date?
No, I think 31st Jan was the last date for Webster. So if you've done that, assignments for Webster, 50% had to be done. If you've not done that, you won't get Webster. After that, it's Law Seco certificate.
Okay, yeah. So for
Law Seco, 50%, you will get Webster certificate. The other remaining, you can keep doing it. It will be evaluated. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So Tanmay and Sukanya definitely are participating. I'm going to be putting the form. Please put your name and phone number and email so that when I make the teams, I will share that team final list with you also, so that you will know who is going to be your team, what is going to be your role. Either you are the actress or you're the lawyer, or you are the lawyer for Disney and Farwell or whatever, Disney and Marvel, whatever is the name. Okay. So great. Thank you so much, guys. And I wish you luck. And please keep in touch and do your assignment or whatever you're doing. Just keep us updated so that we know how you're benefiting from the course or how you've benefited generally from Law Seco or generally otherwise what you're doing. Okay. So great. Thanks for coming for the class, and I'll end the meeting and stop.